Super simple, your secret weapon for cozy nights.
Welcome to Health IQ. Today we have an episode that will appeal to every home cook. Feeding families is stressful.
Yes.
We often struggle with having ideas, having the time, and also the desire to have our families eat more nutritious food and especially vegetables. So we have a solution for you today. Joining me at the table is Joyce Runyon. Many of you have seen her before, but she's also serving as crew. And she's assisting Bobby Hockaday, our camera person, and I am Brenda Bishop. So between us, we have over 50 years.
Oh, no.
Sorry. Of experience fixing meals on a budget.
Yes.
So it's not just fixing meals, it's on a budget.
Yes, definitely.
And so today I thought we would focus on some advantages and tips for serving homemade soups because they're perfect for this time of year. They're perfect comfort food. And also, to go along with this, we have some videos that we'll be
That we're
showing
Yeah.
with some of our members making soups too. So I know your family is a lot more adventuresome than mine when it comes to food choices. So what are some of your go-to or favorite soups for a busy day?
So I have to confess that when I grew up, we didn't really eat soup. You know, maybe we would have pozole. And so I was not a big soup eater. And when I did have soup, it was mostly because I was sick and it was canned. So soup was a different meal idea for me when I had my own family. And I think probably now the most favorite thing I like to do with soup is just see what I've got and throw it in a pot. And soup is really very forgiving in that way. And I have tried different soups. You know, I've tried potato soup. I've tried like a zuppa toscana soup. I've tried all sorts of different kinds of soup. A tortellini spinach soup, which they liked. One that I don't know why I thought I'd try it, but it was a split pea soup, which was definitely nothing I ever had at a restaurant, at home, anywhere. And that turned out to be one of our favorites. And then, of course, one that I'm pretty famous for is my taco soup.
Right.
And that was just really quick and easy and simple, and everybody liked it. So
Split pea was one of my dad's favorite soups, but we always had it from a can. And we did have soup at our house a lot as well, a lot of times from a can. But also, being more from the Midwest, we had more of a chili that would not be what we would consider here in New Mexico as chili.
yeah, I was thinking.
And then a stew type soup that was more often what we had. And then, of course, after my mother had lived here in New Mexico for years, we then had pozole and green chili stew and those kinds of things that we're very familiar with over here in this part of the world. So to me, one of the advantages and what I do a lot for soups is it helps me reduce that food waste because especially when it's warm enough to make soup otherwise, but you know, sometimes you have those mushrooms that are just not so pretty.
They're on their last legs.
Bell pepper that's still safe, but it's starting to get a little wilty, or even tomatoes that are starting to get a little wilty. Spinach, all that kind of stuff that's still really good, but you probably don't want to eat them raw.
Yeah.
And so to me, that is a perfect time to make soup and to use up all those vegetables. And so my mother-in-law used to can a vegetable soup out of her garden.
Oh, wow.
And so that was the first time I'd really been introduced to a soup with like different vegetables than the potatoes, the carrots, the green beans, and the corn. Which is what we had at my house. So, you know, now soup could be all kinds of vegetables, but I put eggplant and carrots. I usually have carrots and potatoes in mine just because that's what I have. Mushrooms, bell peppers, squash, spinach, kale, green beans, sometimes frozen corn, just whatever's there that needs to be used.
Yes.
And so I make my potatoes big.
They got to be big.
I don't cube them too small because I want them to still have body. And when everything's done, so I usually start with that, and I'll use beef broth or vegetable broth. And if I don't have that, I'll use bouillon. My soup always has to have an onion and garlic base, sort of, for that flavor profile. And then I add some crushed tomatoes, a can of crushed tomatoes to give it that color and that little acidity.
You need a little tomato flavor in there too.
And then you can put any kind of herbs you like, but I like to put Italian seasoning and basil. I love basil, so that's what I use. But you could use whatever is your favorite. You can make it a Mexican style. You can make it more of a savory with thyme, or you could just
endless options.
Yes. So it's a perfect way to use up things. And then if you don't want potatoes, you could add pasta, rice, any kind of grain. Sometimes I'll use barley. That's one of my favorite grains for a soup.
You got to be careful about how much you put in and how much liquid you have, though. So that's
true.
Don't forget.
But it's a fun way to really stretch your food dollar too, especially if you can have this whole soup without meat, or you can add meat
and not have a lot.
Of meat. And if you put a grain or a potato or something in there, it makes it very hearty, and so it's a great way to stretch that food dollar. I was also reading in a magazine about gut health. And one of the things that struck me as really interesting is that we should have 30 different plant-based foods a week that we eat.
30.
And I got to thinking about that, and I'm like, that is really hard, because you might eat the same. It's easy to get 30 servings of plant-based foods, but you might be eating the same plant-based foods. Well, soup allows you a way to add some unique things, like maybe some wild rice, or a new grain, or quinoa,
different root vegetables.
Even different root vegetables, or any kinds of, whatever. That
instead of just always a potato, maybe try. Yeah.
So you get that variety there for your gut health too. So I just thought that was interesting too.
That's a lot of vegetables. I don't even know if we have like 30 different vegetables fresh in our grocery store.
I'm sure we do, but some of them are things that we often choose.
Yeah.
Because they're unique to us. But, even some of those vegetables that you might not, you could add some ginger if you want to do more of a ginger. We have ginger. Another thing I got to thinking about is chia. Chia is a really healthy thing, but a lot of people don't like the texture of chia.
Yeah.
But it's also a thickener. And so you can use either tapioca or chia to help thicken your soup if you wanted it a little thicker. And the texture, you wouldn't notice the texture in the soup, but there's 2 more different grains you could be eating.
So now, would that be a good way for like maybe gluten-free people to add a little bit of thickener into their soups without using flour?
Right.
So
just
and chia seeds are really another high protein food for you too. So they're beneficial in lots of ways.
Them are in quinoa. So just some ways that we can really make it fit our gut health as well. So, and then I got to thinking it's an advantage because it is a complete meal pretty much.
That's the best part. It's all in one container and one plate and one spoon, and maybe have a bread on the side or a salad on the side, and you're
Yeah. But even a lot of them are really hearty, and you don't even need that bread or that cracker or anything like that. So that was another advantage I thought of as soups.
So, like I said, with my taco soup recipe, which we have a little short video of that, and we also have the recipe on our Facebook page, is that they don't necessarily take a lot of time. I know a lot of people think, oh, I've got to have this soup on for like all day, and I'm not even home all day, and so how can I do that? But 30, 45 minutes tops, and my little taco soup recipe's done. And so that's something that's easily done quickly, done easily, and it's something even the kids could help you make, which is something nice for them to do too.
And one of the advantages of that soup is you don't have to have any fresh ingredients on hand. It's all cans.
Yep. Sometimes I'll use frozen corn instead of
I have done that as well.
Just because that's a better option, according to Dr. Tina.
Right. And so, that is for sure. The frozen is a little better
than your canned stuff.
But the other thing about even the taco soup, even though you might make it in 30 minutes or less, and it's actually less actual time that it's taking you, the rest is simmering, is that it holds well.
Yes.
So you can wait for those kids to get home. Or I have done it. I have put it together, and we've gone to an event that might be cold, and then we have it when we get home.
Yeah, and it's something you can even throw in your crock pot. And there are some soups that are just specifically made for crock pots that you can start at the beginning of the day and have it when you come home at the end of your workday. So that's another really great thing.
I have even used just my regular recipes in a crock pot. Sometimes you have to use less liquid because you're not, things don't evaporate.
Yeah.
Especially like a green chili stew or something like that. It doesn't evaporate, but, it's something that when I was working full time, I could have all my ingredients in the refrigerator ready to go and then just put them in the crock pot in the morning and then leave. So it was a good way to do that. And I know a lot of people like to make the meals in a bag that you just put in your crock pot. Well, you can do that with soup recipes too. You just don't add all the liquid, just add enough to keep it.
To hold it.
Hold it, and then when you put it in, just add some more liquid.
That's a really good idea.
Yes, it's another way. So to me, it's a good way to introduce maybe a new vegetable to your family because then you can say, hey, you liked that when you ate it a little bit ago. But,
let's have it again.
Yes.
Yeah.
Or to hide vegetables by shredding them or things like that to get a little more nutrition in there. You can shred some zucchini or something into a soup.
That's another really great way to get some more veggies into some of our picky eaters. So that's really good. And
you mentioned cans with the soup, and it reminds me that, a lot of the soups that we buy are high in sodium, and you can buy low sodium soups.
Yeah.
But they don't often have the flavor we want. My mother's on a very low sodium diet, so she makes her own soups all the time, where when we were at home, she didn't make that much soup, but now she does. Of course, chicken noodle is her favorite. And she will make a big thing of chicken noodle soup, and then she freezes it into little containers and has it for later because it's hard as one person to eat a big pot of soup. But she uses lots of herbs and, of course, the onions and the stuff
for seasoning instead of just relying on salt.
And then, so that's another thing you could do. And, of course, if you have the time, making your own broth.
Yeah.
From the bones of beef or the bones of chicken saves money and time.
And the flavor is really great.
And salt, not time, but it does take time. It does add a lot of flavor, yes.
So you mentioned chicken noodle soup, and there's actually research that's been done about chicken noodle soup. We've heard about how it's so good for you.
Well, that's been an old saying about.
That's what we've heard.
You should, when you're sick, you should have chicken noodle soup. But so what does the research say?
Well, I'm going to let you say.
Oh, I get to look it up?
Because you looked it up.
I did look it up. Basically, it has all these medicinal medicinal. I can't say it now that you said it. And that will help us reduce our respiratory illness. I always thought it was the actual because it was warm and thin, that it would help with the mucus, but it also has a lot of anti-inflammatory properties as well.
So it really is good for you.
So chicken noodle soup is a perfect thing to eat when you are not feeling well.
Under the weather, yes.
Or any soup, if you're not really a chicken noodle soup fan, any sort of broth-based soup is a good choice because that would help with that mucus problem. It helps hydrate you and those kinds of things.
Well, even just having a warm bowl of soup that helps your nasal passages.
True.
You just feel better with a bowl of soup on a cold day. So we also found out that if you start your meal with foods that are high in water content, so that would be your soups or your salad, that they tend to fill you up more and it prevents you from overeating.
Yes.
So if you ever go out to a restaurant and you're like, should I do the soup and the salad? It's not a bad idea to say, yeah, I think I will. And so even if having that at home, if you just think of all the liquid content you're taking in when you're having soup, it's going to fill up your tummy a little bit quicker. And that's why you want to have those good vegetables and the meat and all your everything in one pot.
And I actually often choose the soup because they have a lot of unique soups and things I'd like to try. And to me, that flavor is more than the flavor of a salad. And so that makes it so that I really thought I got a lot. I may not have got a lot, but it was like, oh, this was so good, and you savor that. And that's part of that satiety too, not just the feeling of fullness, but the feeling of being that you really did eat something good and tasty. And
and it is really filling. So soups really make you feel good.
And also, that whole less calorie thing, many soups have less calories than other foods. So if you have that, you get all your flavor bursts there. You can eat less of the entree or something else and take part of that home. And then that really makes your out-to-eat budget stretch a little bit.
Yes. You do want to be careful about the cream-based soups because they might hide a little more calories in them.
Yes, they would. Not that they're not tasty.
Oh, no, they're yummy. They're some of the best. But it's not probably as healthy as something that's not a cream-based soup.
But most vegetables are high in antioxidant rich vegetables.
Yes.
I even made one, and I have been trying to find the recipe so I could put it in with this blog called, when I was a kid, called Finished Summer Vegetable Soup. And took it to competitions. And that was really the first cream soup that I had other than canned cream of mushroom or broccoli or, something like that, where you had lots of vegetables and no meat, but then you added milk to make that cream. And it was a really light soup, even though it was a creamy soup. So I hadn't found it yet, but I'm hoping now I find it.
Me too. You have good recipes.
Now that I was thinking about these soups, I'm thinking, that would sound really good.
How funny.
So you were mentioning about your split pea soup and lentils.
So, and again, I don't really know what possessed me to try split pea soup. I guess maybe I had a bag at home. Sometimes you get this odd bag of split peas. And so I made it, and I really liked it. I was shocked. It's the split peas kind of dissolve, and so it's a thicker soup, and it seems like it would be, I think you do add probably like a little bit of milk to it towards the end to thin it out a little bit. And then I would buy the ham pieces and put that in, but you could put in a ham bone, you could put in whatever meat you wanted, and have that with like a crusty bread from the oven. And it was really good. So, Clyde and Rochelle, I had them over to eat one evening and made soup. And I found out that Clyde did not like split pea soup. And so I said, he probably hasn't had good split pea soup. So I made split pea soup for Clyde to come over and eat it. And he ate it, so I guess it was okay, but I don't think it was his favorite soup of all time.
Well, and being a pea, it had carbohydrates. But lentils are high in protein. They would have a different texture than a split pea soup, but they would be small too. And lentils are a good thing to add to a lot of soups.
So would they actually dissolve too if you left them in long enough?
I think they'll still have a little bit of texture to them.
Okay.
Split peas actually do get...
Yeah, they will turn into mush. So that's why you need a little bit of milk in there. But that was a really good one.
So I think it's fun just to make soups, and we challenge all of you to sort of be creative. Look at what's in your pantry and see what kinds of things you can put together, flavor profiles you like. But there's also tons of recipes.
They are, and they're usually really easy recipes, so they're not really complex. And it's just something new to try with your family.
So our food for thought today is soup not only warms you and is easy to swallow and to digest, it also creates the illusion in the back of your mind that mother is there. And that's why I sort of say, it's like the ultimate comfort food. When you're cold on a cold day, there's nothing better than a warm thing of soup. And but it also just makes you feel
it really does.
At peace.
It calms you and it warms you from the inside out. And it's just a great way to have a meal and enjoy with your family.
Yeah. And I really didn't talk a lot about other than my just make it up yourself soup, but be sure to come to our blog, because I have several recipes there that we will put on the blog, highlight, including, we couldn't do this without having a green chili stew.
Oh, yeah.
And a chicken tortilla soup. And I don't remember what else I put on there, but...
I don't think of stew and green chili stew as soups, but I guess they can be kind of put in there.
Well, that's sort of how I got my husband to eat soups, is because he wanted thicker food. So
heartier.
We just put a little less broth in, and it's a stew.
Okay. Well, now I know the difference. It's the broth base. So.
That's what I think, anyway.
Okay.
And one thing I did, now that I think about, forget to say is that soups. Another good advantage of soups is that they freeze well.
Yes.
And except if you have a milk base, sometimes they'll separate a little bit, but they do freeze well, and that's another nice thing because you can
make a big batch and enjoy it for a while.
Have them as once, right? And so we hope we motivated you to make a pot of soup, and be sure to check out our Facebook and our Instagram and our YouTube channel for all the great soup recipes we're putting up.
And our website.
And, of course, our website. We'll have those on our website as well. Thank you. I always forget about the website. And then our blog, which is also located on the website at Health IQ blog. And be sure to come back for our next episode as we'll explore another important topic for our community members.
Special thanks to hosts Brenda Bishop, Quay County Health Council Coordinator, Joyce Runyon, Quay County Health Council Assistant Coordinator, Locations Manager, Gordon Runyon. Thanks for keeping us cool. Podcast crew, Director Robert F. Hockaday, Producers Robert F. Hockaday and Joyce Runyon, Camera Operator Robert F. Hockaday, Second Assistant Operator Joyce Runyon, Editor Joyce Runyon, Music provided by David Morris. Funding for Health IQ provided by a New Mexico Better Together grant. Brought to you by the Quay County Health Council. Follow us on YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram at Quay County Health. If you have any content ideas, reach out to us by email healthikpodcast@gmail.com. More info about this topic and more available on our Health IQ blog, QCHEALTHCO.UNCIL.org.
This podcast was created solely for educational and entertainment purposes. It is not intended as a substitute for advice from a healthcare or mental health professional.